Welcome back. Forum Daily's Energy Update is up now. We'll hear the latest about gas and oil prices with Dan McTeague, Senior Petroleum Analyst at Gaswizard.ca. He joins us now. Take it away, Dan.
Well, hello again, Nima, and thank you for that. What a bizarre week we're seeing on energy markets and, of course, the price of gasoline right across Canada. But we've had a few interesting events this week. Before I get into where we are, where we're going, maybe just a little commentary on the federal budget. A lot of spending, a lot of high fives, but nothing in the way of any due regard to the energy sector, other than perhaps some allowance for carbon capture. I was speaking before the House of Commons Environment Committee, a little bit like a fox in the proverbial chicken coop. Interesting that many people still believe that we can do away with oil and gas. There seems to be this imaginary world of thinking we can simply do away with it. And yet the funding for a lot of those organizations, in fact, the funding for federal and provincial governments and municipal governments to the same extent, wouldn't be possible if you got rid of the oil and gas sector. So I thought it was somewhat ironic. More importantly, I think I presaged, like everyone else did, if the federal Liberals were able to get away with a budget in which they are not getting, the bond rating agencies coming in and downgrading us, it's because of the very industry that they're attempting to kill. Make no mistake, the $100 plus oil, what consumers are paying, collection of GST, HST, those things are really lining the coffers of the Canadian government and allowing it to make even more pronouncements on spending. I find it sadly ironic, though, that we still have politicians in this country who want to think that the best way to proceed with this is to kill the golden goose. I'll leave that for a side, but one other positive piece of news, whether it was a good takeaway or not, was Bay du Nord, the project off 500 miles off the coast of Newfoundland. Very similar to some of the other projects that are there. Obviously, a timely allowance by the government. Whether or not they impose their harsh cap on emissions is irrelevant. The reality is that both Atlantic and Pacific coasts need a lot more Canadian energy, given the alternatives. When you think of alternatives like Iran, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and yes, Russia, you kind of really want the Canadian oil sector to get back up on its feet very quickly to provide a modicum of security to the world. And we can all agree on that, despite those who believe that we can wish fossil fuels away. The reality is showing something very, very different. Now, this week, the Biden administration, in coordination with the International Energy Agency, decided that they were going to try to flood the market with oil. Interesting, because it's based on reserves. Interesting that it's the International Energy Agency coordinating this, because only 11 months ago they were saying we should stop investing and get rid of all new oil and gas production. Of course, just a few weeks later, realizing their numbers were wrong. It's kind of ironic that they're pleading, looking for any way in which to stabilize global energy prices in light of the attack by Russia and, of course, the sanctions, which sooner or later, hopefully Europe will find its spine and cut off Russia, because as it stands today, we've seen for the past 37 days, Europe continues to finance Mr. Putin's war to the tune of $1 billion a day. That's absolutely shameful, and it puts aside the global rhetoric about our concern about the plight of the Ukrainian people. Back to gasoline. I think we're going to continue to see this sort of tug of war, the effect of putting reserves into action has caused a bit of a downfall in oil prices. But it's a little bit like a baseball analogy, given that we're starting the baseball season here in Canada. You're basically bringing your closing pitcher in the second inning to do and hope that they can stand for the next 7 innings. It doesn't happen very often, and it's not going to end very well, and it's going to continue to create tightness in supply. As a result, I'm predicting this week we're going to see a pretty significant increase in gasoline prices, except for Vancouver. And the reason for that is simply because we're switching from winter to summer gasoline. There's about a 9-cent difference, 8 to 9 cent difference that'll have to be passed on to consumers. That is a thing. From September 15th until April 15th, we have winter gasoline, cheaper to make. And from April 15th until September 15th, which is a period we're coming into next week, we're going to have to switch over to gasoline that is formulated in such a way that you don't have, instant ignition of your vehicles, creating knock-on and, of course, some environmental concerns as far as vapor is concerned. So all of this means that this time next week, average prices in Canada will move from about $1.65, $1.68, all the way up to about $1.75, $1.78. And I would expect that best time to gas up will be sometime before Wednesday of next week, if not sooner. Go to Gaswizard.ca. You'll see the 2-day prediction, and there be able to give you a bit of a heads up, hopefully saving you a little bit of money. So that's it for this week, and we'll talk next week, Nima. Thanks for having me again, and don't forget, fill up before next Wednesday.
All right, thanks for that, Dan. That was Dan McTeague, Senior Petroleum Analyst at Gaswizard.ca. He is also the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. Stay with us. Up next, Forum Daily's crypto and digital asset update with Catherine Murray is coming up next.